Hi, in this video I will explain everything about DMA cheats and the hardware required for them to work. DMA cheats use an external card to read game memory on a hardware level, while the cheat itself runs on a second PC. This means your gaming PC remains completely clean, making it nearly impossible for anti-cheats to detect the software. Here is a list of all possible DMA equipment. As you can see, some devices are strictly required, while others are optional. Let's go through them one by one. Let's start with computers. You need to have two. The first one is your main or gaming PC, which you will use for playing. It must have at least one free PCI Express slot. The type doesn't matter, X1, X4 or X16. You will install DMA card into this slot. You will also need a second PC, also called a radar PC, and a monitor for it. This is where you will run the DMA cheats. For smooth performance and cheat compatibility, your second PC should have at least the following specifications shown on the screen. A common question is whether you can install a DMA card on a laptop. There are M2 DMA cards and PCI Express adapters that make this possible. However, your laptop must have a USB 4 or Thunderbolt port. Even then, compatibility issues often occur, so there is no guarantee that it will work on your specific laptop. Another common question is whether you can use a laptop as your second PC. Yes, you can, but watch this video until the section about the fuzzer to understand the display related nuance. Now let's talk about DMA card itself. From its name, Direct Memory Access, you can understand that DMA cards read the game's memory directly. For this, it's installed in the PCI Express slot of your main PC. There are three versions of DMA cards: 35T, 75T and 100T. The main differences are data transfer speed and firmware customizations options. If you plan to buy your first card, then go either with the 75T or 100T. There are dozens of DMA card brands. In essence, there is no significant difference between them, except for Chinese fakes from AliExpress and similar sites. Because some lazy sellers there don't even provide a properly working program or a clear firmware update instructions. They may also have overheating issues. That's why I recommend buying hardware from trusted sites. For example, when purchasing from dmacheats.com, you can read detailed text instructions on the site even before buying. You can also watch our video guides on this YouTube channel, and after purchase you will get access to all necessary files. We ship worldwide. Next, firmware. It's a software that masks your DMA card from anti-cheats. You can install it by yourself using special tool in just 5 minutes. Different DMA cards versions and brands use different firmware installation tools and instructions, which you should get from your seller. If you have the default free firmware installed, you either won't be able to run DMA cheat because the game's anti-cheat will block the device and memory reading, or if you manage to run the cheat, you will likely get automatically banned very quickly. Therefore, it's essential to use high-quality custom firmware that supports the anti-cheat you need. Firmware is developed for specific card versions. For example, firmware for a 75T card will not work on a 100T card. Additionally, some firmware may be incompatible with certain motherboard brands and CPUs on your main PC, which is why a good seller usually requests these details before creating your firmware. To ensure security and prevent firmware reselling, the developer may request your card's DNA ID. This means the firmware will be tied to your specific DMA device and will not work on others. Next, let's talk about the fuzzer. This device connects to your two computers using HDMI or DisplayPort cables to show visual cheat functions such as radar hack, wall hack and menu on your main monitor. Without a fuzzer, you will only see the cheats functions on your second display. There are three main types of fuzzers: HDMI, DisplayPort and 4K fuzzer. You can see their differences on the screen. The DisplayPort fuzzer offers the best price to performance ratio and is suitable for most users. An important aspect of using a fuzzer is that the resolution and refresh rate of both your monitors must be the same. They don't have to match out of the box, but you will need to set them to the same values in the Windows settings. For example, if your main monitor is 4K 240Hz and your second monitor is Quad HD 240Hz and you are using a DisplayPort fuzzer, you can lower both monitors to Quad HD 144Hz or Full HD 240Hz. In this case, the resolution and refresh rate will match on both monitors and stay within the supported values of the DisplayPort fuzzer. ensuring everything works smoothly. Be cautious if you use a laptop as your second PC, as most budget models have only a Full HD 60Hz display. This will require you to lower your main monitor settings to Full HD 60Hz as well, even if it originally supports 4K 240Hz. Next, let's talk about the Kmbox and Arduino. I've grouped them together since they serve exactly the same function, emulating mouse input, allowing you to use aimbot and triggerbot features. Without one of these devices, you cannot use aim functions. The Kmbox has two versions, B Pro and Net. The B Pro is an outdated model and it's detected by many anti-cheats, so I don't recommend using it. The Kmbox Net connects via USB and requires both of your main and second PC to be connected to the same network. Arduino also has several models, but the simplest and the most user-friendly is MAKCU, which I will focus on. It's easier to use than Kmbox Net, you just need to connect USB cables and it's ready to go. Sometimes developers of Kmbox and MAKCU release new firmware updates. They should be installed as they improve stability and potentially enhance anti-detection. Firmware updates for them are free and can be installed by yourself in 3 minutes. The next device is Xim Matrix. It's for those who want to use aimbot while playing on controller. Xim Matrix emulates a mouse as the output device instead of controller and works alongside the Kmbox or Arduino. A very common question is whether you can use the Cronus Zen instead of Xim Matrix. After extensive testing, technical research and user feedback, I concluded that you cannot, as the Cronus doesn't support mouse emulation as an output device. It does the opposite, it emulates a controller when playing with a mouse. Therefore, it's not suitable for DMA cheats. If you have other information on this, feel free to share it in the comments. Finally, the DMA cheat itself. This is a software that ties together all previously mentioned hardware to give you the desired in-game functionality. DMA cheats typically include wellhack, aimbot, triggerbot, and trader hack. They are sold as a subscription for each game individually and usually cost around $30 to $60 per month. A frequent question is whether you can use regular cheats with DMA card. The answer is no. You need DMA specific cheats because they work on a completely different principle. To summarize, if you only plan to use an aimbot, you will need your main PC with a free PCI Express slot, second PC and monitor or laptop, DMA card, firmware for the specific game, Kmbox or Arduino, and DMA cheat. If you play on controller, you will need everything above plus Xim Matrix. If you also want wallhack on main monitor, you will need everything above plus Fuser. You can purchase everything mentioned in this video on our website, dmacheats.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our Telegram channel for news and updates. I hope this video was helpful and I would appreciate it if you click like. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. See you in the next videos.